Hi everyone, Petra here at Petra's Creative Plans. Thank you for joining me. So today we are going to do the February setup in my bullet journal. Let's get started. Okay, so this video is going to be, a lot of it will be sped up just for time's sake. So I'm just going to be showing you some of the supplies I'm using. I've got my water sprayer, I've got a list of my colors, as well as my color swatch guide for my jelly gouache. I'm going to be using titanium white, rose, violet, acid blue, purple rose, ultramarine, burnt umber, black, ochre, and yellow green. So this painting is inspired by a tutorial I saw on YouTube by JBeansArt. Definitely check out her video, it's fabulous. So I did follow along with that to create this scene for my February cover page setup. So now I'm just prepping my bullet journal by using my binder clip here to hold the pages flat, and then I'm going to tape off the section where I want to do this painting. It will not be a full sheet painting. I'm just having it a certain size, and you guys will see why as we go along with the setup. And I'm going to start by doing the background. So I'm going to mix up a soft violet shade to start in the center, and then it's going to get darker as we go around to the edges. And I'm just going to do a couple of layers until I get a nice smooth blend with these colors. Now, even with a really good thick 160 GSM dot grid paper, you will get a slight bit of buckling when you're doing a painting like this in your bullet journal, simply because these pages aren't designed for paint necessarily, but using those binder clips really helps the pages dry as flat as possible. And the tiny bit of buckling that you might get, it isn't enough to bother me or deter me. I love the way these paintings look in my bullet journal. So now I've mixed a slightly darker shade, well, quite a bit darker shade here, and I'm going to start by putting in my darkest color on some trees in the background here. And then I'm also going to just add in some leaves here, and I'm going to vary my shades slightly as I go between a little bit lighter and darker colors, and this is just to kind of give the impression of the trees in the background. And so I was trying to stay with more purpley violety hues just because the color for February is purple for amethyst. So I was trying to tie that in. These did turn out a little bit more bluish looking on screen, but in person it's definitely got more of that purple tone. So I'm just going to keep working here with building up, and I'm adding a little bit of a lighter or a little different shade here to do some bigger trees right in the foreground. And so I'm just going to continue building up as I go. And now I'm starting to add some lighter shades to work in some highlights on the trees that are closest to the front here. And I'm just going to continue doing this where I'm adding in some highlights. I might go back in with some darker colors, put in a few more shadows, and just play with it until I like how it's looking. And then I'm going to go back in and start filling in even more of these leaves and the foliage and get some real depth and layers going on there. And I will start to add some leaves in on the little bushes that are around the base of the trees as well. it's important to keep the colors lighter in the distance, and as you're coming closer to the foreground you want to have a darker base color, and then you can add in some highlights with some lighter colors and throw in some shadows. So I'm just working on adding some of these details in here. Now it's time to put in the look of a little path. So to do this, I'm just working with this same color palette, mixing up some different shades that I like, and I'm just going to put in the appearance of a bit of a path here that you could walk through this little forest. And now with a very small fine liner brush, I'm just going to go in and add some little sticks and twigs and things poking out here and there, just to give a little bit more detail to this painting. This is one of my favorite parts. So I've mixed up some of that titanium white and the yellow green, and I'm just making the slightest bit of a green tinge in there. I'm going to start putting in some different sized dots all over the painting here to make the look of some fireflies floating around in this evening forest. Now once this painting is dry, I'm going to go ahead and peel off my masking tape very carefully to reveal nice straight edges. And I did get a little bit of that violet shade on the edges of my pages. So what I'll do to fix that is I'm actually going to go around with some washi tapes and build up a frame around this picture. And I find that also kind of helps to give it a more finished look. So I quite like how that turned out. Sometimes these little accidents turn into a happy ending. So I'm just thrilled with how this looks with that washi tape frame around this beautiful painting. I'm going to put my binder clip back on to help keep everything nice and flat. And then I'm going to flip over to the page in front of the scene where I've done a preliminary sketch, and I'm going to go ahead and start doing my line work. Please excuse my head getting in the way. I've seen a lot of videos and inspiration where people have done pictures of windows and window benches and seats and things, and I really liked how those looked. So I went ahead and I sketched out this little window seat drawing, and then now I'm going to be doing my line work, and I believe I'm using a 0.3 tip on my liner pen here, and this is an Artist Loft fine liner. So I'm going to work on getting the details on the walls and this little picture, so I hope you enjoy watching this part. Again, I apologize for my head getting in the way, but sometimes you just have to get closer to be able to see those little details, and you know, as you get older, your eyes aren't what they used to be. And now I'm going to grab my kneaded eraser and just go over this and get rid of any little pencil lines that might be showing through. And once we've erased all those lines, it's time to pull out my swatch book for my colored pencils. And this is really handy to have because it helps me choose the colors that I want without trying to guess just by looking at the pencil, because the look of the pencil is not necessarily true to how it plays out. So I'm going to start by using a soft warm gray just to go around some of the shadow edges on the walls here, where there'd be a little bit of details and where the trim kind of pops up over the walls. And then after that, I will go over with this soft cream color, which I'm using for my walls. And then I'm going to go ahead and get my blending stumps and my baby oil, and I will use that to blend this all out once I've got the color down. putting in the color for these seat cushions, it's just important to think about where the shadows will be. So again, I'm using a soft gray tone to go over the back of the seat cushion, underneath those other pillows, just to add in some shading, and I find that that works really well. And I'm happy with how this is looking. I like the colors and I find that the shading looks pretty good. So then I'm going to go ahead and grab those blending stumps and my baby oil, and you just dip it just slightly, the tip of the blending stump, into the baby oil, and that helps you blend the colors together. And you know, it's really hard to tell that it's pencil crayon when you're done because it makes such a smooth blend. It almost looks painted, and it doesn't really do anything to the paper. It looks and feels the same when everything is dry, so I like this technique. Now that everything is blended, I'm going to go ahead and get my cutting mat, and I'm going to go through the tedious task of cutting out all these little squares in this window. So now that that's done, I'm going to pull in a clear piece of acetate plastic and I'm going to cut that down to size, and we will glue that in place to make a window. And after that is glued down, I will then just glue the page behind this back on top to hide the back side of that plastic. Alright, we'll get that glued down, and now it's time to write in February 2023 for our title page. And I am just loving how you can see that beautiful painted forest scene through the window. I think this is probably one of my favorite cover pages yet. It was a lot of work, but well worth it. Now I want to do something to make the back side of this window page a little bit more appealing, so I'm going to bring in some skinny navy blue washi tape, and I'm going to run this over all of the lines on the panes of the window just to kind of hide how that looks and clean it up a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and put washi tape over the rest of this page to make it look like there's some wallpaper or something, just so it's not this bright white and you can see all the glue from the plastic, so it just cleans it up a bit. And now I want to do something to this page across from the February cover page. So I'm going to put in a border with some washi tape. I'm checking to make sure that it won't be seen through the window. And I'm going to fill that in with a different washi tape to make it look like wallpaper. And then when you look through the window from the other page, it all kind of just blends in nicely and looks more finished than just the white page. And then I'll go ahead and put a little quote on the top and the bottom of this border. And the quote that I'm going to use is, "This is the month of love, loving yourself, your neighbor, and loving the small blessings that show up in unique places." I thought that was a really nice little quote and quite fitting for the month of February. Alright, and now on to making the February calendar page. And so for the rest of these spreads, I keep it all very simple. And I put a lot into the first couple of pages, so I wanted this to be kind of clean and more functional than overly decorative. And on this calendar page, I also end up putting in a little saying that says February 2023, the gateway between winter and spring. And so to kind of add just a bit of pop of color, I did have some beautiful butterfly stickers that I got from AliExpress in different shades of blues and purples. And I do end up putting those in throughout the spread to kind of tie in that winter to spring transition idea as well. I never would have thought of mixing a scene like this with the butterflies, but I absolutely am loving the way it turned out. And I think it just fits really well, so I'm happy I did it. And I do try to stick with a lot of purple inks while I'm doing these setups on these pages, just to carry that through my February setup. Moving on to my weekly spreads. So I like to have a place to do a little bit of journaling and write down my daily tasks and all that kind of stuff. So I like to put 1 week on every 2 pages. So I'll go ahead and start by drawing out all the boxes for those. So now I come in with my purple mild liner, and I'm going to use this to highlight every other row here. It just makes it a bit easier when I'm writing things down. And this is going to be a section for my monthly to-dos or my monthly tasks. I'm going to go ahead and put in the date and the day of the week for every box. And I also have an extra box on every week for additional notes. On this last page, I only have 2 days, so underneath these 2 days, I'm going to put a section for planning ahead. And this is where I can list things that I need to get done in March. And then it's easy for me to carry it over and I don't forget anything. Alright, and we're back, and it's been a couple of days. Filming this has been over a few days actually, and so I'm going to just do my last page, which is my social media tracker, and I'm changing it a little bit in February from what I had done in January. And I just like to use this to track when I'm making posts on social media, which platform they're on, what type of a post, is it a video, a reel, or just a regular post, that sort of thing. And then I will also bring in a light purple tombow to highlight every other row on this section as well. I'll add in a couple of little butterfly stickers here, and that will finish this off. I'm very pleased with how it looks and how it all came together. And then I flipped this page and noticed there's a smudge of some sort on the other side, so that's a little frustrating. I will deal with that when it's time to do the March setup. I'll figure out a nice way to cover it. So let's go back and add in a couple more butterflies just on some of these weekly pages, just to kind of tie that all in. So here we're going to take one final flip through of this complete February setup, and I want to take a moment to say thank you for joining me and sticking through another long video. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. Leave me a comment down below, let me know what you think. As always, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and thank you very much for joining me. And until next time, take care. Bye.